In terms of
A two-day national conference on anti-corruption has been organized in Nigeria's capital, Abuja, in furtherance of efforts to rid the country of corruption, which has been endemic for many years. According to Transparency International, Nigeria scored 24 out of 100 points in the 2022 Corruption Perception Index, the same figure that was recorded in 2021, an indication of lack of
there are
improvement
things
in the
then
nation's bid
for
to tackle
what happened to
corruption.
me when I was concentrating on my PhD.
It is against this backdrop that the Center for Fiscal Transparency and Integrity Watch organized its 30th Anti-Corruption Situation Room in conjunction with HEDA Resource Centre, addressing journalists at the event with the theme Nigeria and the Fight Against Corruption, reviewing the Buhari regime and setting agenda for the Tinubu administration. HEDA Chair Olarewaju Suraju opined that civil society bodies and pressmen need to start asking politicians and public officers questions on how funds at their disposal were utilized.
I think this is part of the very critical and important role of what we as media and civil society are expected to do. And I really didn't get that much enough from the media, I must confess, that we should actually have put the SP on the spotlight. He's not only being investigated for the term as governor in in Akwa Ibom, but also as the minister of Niger Delta. I mean, these are very critical issues. This was a person that was invited by EFCC and refused to honor the invitation, claiming that he was sick, only to be junketing around campaigning to be the Senate president, and eventually emerged as the Senate president. This is actually a very sour taste in the mouth, both for the president and both for this government. And that actually can tell us, unfortunately, also with what eventually happened with the anti-corruption agency, particularly the EFCC, with the removal of the chairman, and no action already been taken to tell us what is the agenda of this government in the fight against corruption. So some of those emergence of the people that are associated, looking at even the ones that contested, including Abdulaziz Yari, who contested to be the Senate president, these are people that are still wanted by the EFCC, particularly for some of the atrocities that have been committed in public office in the past.
Say that, yeah, it is true.
The legal luminary who graced the event, Professor Deji Adekunle San, said patriotic public officers are usually up against a strong corruption network fully entrenched in Nigeria's national life. He charged government to strengthen its synergy with CSOs.
It is true that government officials, and they are good government officials, no doubt, they are honest and patriotic government officials, but what are they up against? They are up against, first, a blinding bureaucracy that has separated intentions from the structures on the ground. What I have observed from my own little corner is the widening gap between government and civil society. There's a widening gap between government and civil society. How can a government fight corruption if that gap keeps widening? How can anyone in a government office pretend to know who is living above his or her means, if not from citizens and neighbors of such people?
Corruption is...
The representative of the National Security Advisor, NSA, Nuhu Ribadu, stressed that if government funds were properly utilized, citizens will enjoy the benefit of good governance. He further said the present administration is ready to reduce inefficiency in government while championing a good reward system for civil servants.
And one of the basics in corruption is if money is not stolen, if you have programs, government programs, and in the implementation, if money is not stolen or there is a reduction or in wastage of government resources, then there will be more resources available for government programs. So in the Renewed Hope agenda, in relation to fighting corruption, inefficient waste in government, the promise is the government will continue to work on the current administration will continue the work of the current administration in reforming the civil service to fight corruption, reduce bureaucracy, streamline agencies, decrease inefficiency and waste. We'll streamline the amount that government spends on itself. A cap will place on fiscal expenditures, for the construction of government buildings and on salaries-related compensation packages of elected officials.
We all have a responsibility.
Similarly, United States Embassy Senior Justice Advisor Michelle Washington challenged the different facets of the society to be eagle-eyed and kick against corruption, as she believes the masses will be the ones to bear the brunt of corruption when perpetrated by corrupt politicians.
We all have a responsibility up and down and across to make sure that there's good governance, because we suffer when someone runs away with the money, however it's done. And it can't be done. No one is walking away with bags of money. It's somehow electronic transfer. It's something. So what can be done in advance to capture those transactions?
Corruption is widely considered the main reason Africa's largest economy is struggling to oversee an equitable distribution of its wealth, with many fearing anti-graft agencies like the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, and Independent Corrupt Practices Commission, ICPC, are now being ravaged by the same issue they are combating. In Abuja, Nigeria's capital, Abiodun Mohammed, Top Accolade News.